This is Jason Martell with The Other Side of Planet X with Dr. Carmen Bolter at the Mandeville Institute here at UCSD. Dr. Bolter, tell us some about some of the amazing research that you've presented here today at CPAK.
I've been to Egypt 22 times, and I've done a lot of work on the Giza Plateau, and I've just come out with a documentary called The Pyramid Code, and in that we're looking at alternate purposes for the pyramids and how they worked with resonance fields, how each pyramid had different tones inside them, and there was a whole network of passageways underneath the pyramids. There's 6 different pyramid sites from Dashur south all the way up to Abu Rosh north, and each of the pyramids have several chambers inside them, and some of them have 2 different tones, like the bent pyramid. And there was something about the construction and the kinds of stone that was used in the underground passageways, notably granite, which is a transmission stone that's slightly radioactive, that has crystals in it, and that would build the charge of the water, and the water would create acoustic chambers inside resonance fields that also worked with the high-level initiates. And so this made fields within fields within fields. And so what they were able to do when they reached a certain level of consciousness was they were actually able to blow apart the water molecule, and we're basically made of water. And so they were able to do things that we can only imagine. And so the ancient Hindis talk about 6 different siddhis, S-I-D-H-I, and that's telepathy, teleportation, levitation, bilocation, manifestation, and alchemy. Did I get that right? There's 6. And it all had to do, though, with the same level of being able to deal with energetic frequencies that would host the transmutation of the atom. And so over the past years, I've had a lot of past life recall. I started when I was 6 years old, having past life memory of Egypt. And so I went there for the first time by myself when I was 22. And ever since then, I've just read everything in sight, and I would kind of feel in my gut that certain things weren't right and certain things were, instilled a great deal of curiosity in me. And so been chasing my visions, and actually I spent a lot of time and found out some pretty interesting things over there.
Wow, that is very amazing. 22 years of research in Giza alone. Now, I'm familiar somewhat with the Giza Plateau. Do you feel, in your personal opinion, through your research, that there's maybe a blanket of not sharing the full truth of things that have been possibly excavated from the Sphinx or the pyramids? Not to say that there's a cover-up, but do you think that there's staged excavations that take place on the surface, and maybe some of the relics and things they find they don't always share with the public?
That's absolutely true. And actually, a little interesting story with the making of the Pyramid Code, because I was on the phone setting up permissions for the next thing, and I sent the crew into the pit down into the Great Pyramid without me. And then when I examined the footage, there was another passageway in there. And I spent an awful lot of time in the Great Pyramid by myself and around the body of the Sphinx. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that they don't share. But people ask me all the time if I think it's a conspiracy or a cover-up or that sort of thing. And, I think it's a mindset and a level of consciousness. Like if you go to Egypt and you see how their society works and the way they think, and I think that they're not necessarily trying to hide something as much as they don't understand what it could be. And so they want to keep it Egyptian, they want to keep it archaeological, and there's no leeway on that. And so if we're going to solve the mystery of this whole big thing of what the Egyptians were up to, I think we need to take the puzzle pieces and bring them together. So there's linguistics, there's history, there's anthropology, archaeology, geology, climatology. All these different pieces can start to point to a different way of looking at it. And the Bible seems to want us to think we're 6,000 years old. The patriarchy wants to erase evidence of anything other than itself. And so I think that that's what stops us from understanding the Egyptians. And we're not going to really get to the bottom of it until we take every single piece and look at it simultaneously.
Wow, those are very interesting points that you raise. The only other thing that I'd like to at least throw on the table, just a curiosity, there's a lot of rumors and speculation today on the internet around the year 2012. The Mayans or the ancient cultures predicted that the end of the days are coming. Do you see anything in your research? You talked about levitation or the use of some more esoteric knowledge that might not be in use today. Do you think there will be a time when there will be a change, and that some of these maybe advances in knowledge will be released in more of a public level? The idea of levitation or resonance in a sound frequency, maybe that's released into a public device that people buy or use in everyday life.
Well, I don't know that it would be a machine or a device. I think it's a level within ourselves, and that we can build a charge within us through focus and concentration, through meditation and that sort of thing. I don't think we're quite at the stage where people are able to do it yet. More and more people are telepathic. The phone rings, they already know who it is, right? Wow. And the other thing is that there's this veil that we don't quite know what we even know. So with my book, Angels and Archetypes, An Evolutionary Map of Feminine Consciousness, I would go to public lectures and I would say, who here thinks they've seen an angel? And, you know, maybe 2 people would put up their hand in an audience of 100. And then I would talk about the energetics and how angels are in a higher level frequency and they're more refined and they can densify themselves a little. And if we raise our level of consciousness and maybe we can, you know, catch a glimmer, it's diffuse awareness, not focused attention and that sort of thing. And by the end, I'd say, who thinks they've seen an angel? And almost 50% of the people would put up their hand and they'd say, oh, that thing when Uncle John died. Oh, yes, he did come back to me. And so we're taught that we're not supposed to see that sort of thing. And if you don't see it, it's not there. And yet people have hunches, but they often don't have a context to understand it. And so they miss the perception of what's already there. It's fascinating.
Wow, that is amazing. Where can our audience learn or find more about your research?
Well, online, apparently if you Google me, you get 3 pages of things. I've got 6 websites, but pyramidcode.com has got the information about the documentary, and cbolter.com, C-B-O-U-L-T-E-R. There's information there about research I've done.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that amazing research and being a guest on the show today.
Thank you.
Meet us on the launch pad next time as we gas up the mothership and blast off for